And
Okay.
we'll just remind everybody that these will be available on the website in the next few days when Kurt works his magic to get these
Okay.
edited out and on the website. So Duane, thanks for doing this today. We want to make sure everybody understands the title is How I Sell Money Without
How I sell honey
Competition.
without competition.
Competition, not how you sell money
No,
without
no, no. That was an
compensation.
earlier
Uh,
life.
yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Duane Combs. My wife and I own Arizona Beekeepers LLC. We're located in Litchfield Park, which is a subdivision of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm the managing partner. I'm a certified master beekeeper from the University of Montana, and I'm president of our state beekeepers association, and I'm also a board member for WAS. And I got into beekeeping. In my first life, I was a mortgage banker and I made a lot of money selling money. And then to repent of the sins I committed, I became a United Methodist pastor for 23 years. And so then I was selling God and salvation. And now I sell bees and honey. And I try to sell bees and honey without competition. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. Our company is driven by three goals. We want to save and improve the bees. We want to help beekeepers, especially new beekeepers, be successful because beekeeping, as we all know, has become not an easy task to keep healthy bees and keep them alive and productive. And the third thing is we want to be the best in our marketplace of what we do. And what we do is we sell bees and we sell honey. Now, one of the nice things about my involvement in beekeeping is I'm retired, and so I don't have to make money at beekeeping, but I do enjoy doing beekeeping and helping people with beekeeping, and money is the way we keep score. So we operate on a very different management system that I want to take a minute to talk about. And that every new beekeeper hears that they need to uh, about bee, learn about beekeeping, find a bee club, and find a mentor. And it's find a mentor part that I strongly disagree with, and we operate totally differently. The problem with mentors is they tend to be older beekeepers who are on their way out. They have sold their business or they've cut back on the number of hives. They may have a few hives that they still manage, but they're the kind of people that can be available 24/7 so that the new beekeeper can contact them with their questions and they can go out and look at the beekeeper's bees and new beekeeper has one or two hives. If most of them have one hive and they don't know if they've got the best hive or the worst hive in the world. And so the model that we have developed is a different model, and it's based on the Roman model. Rome ruled the world by a series of patrons and clients. A patron was a powerful, usually wealthy individual, and they would look for up-and-comers to join them. And these up-and-comers would be clients of the patron, and their job would be to help the patron accomplish the goals that the patron had. Now, patron would support them, train them if necessary, make sure they get to know the right people, and make sure they make the right connections and the right parties. And this is how we operate. We want to help beekeepers, but we want those beekeepers to help us. We become partners, and it can be a short-term relationship or a long-term relationship based on the individual. But I try to do this because in order to really learn beekeeping, you need to see a bunch of hives. You know, yeah, for those of us that have a bunch of hives, we see things regularly that the home hobbyist beekeeper with one hive may not see once every 10 years. Well, the topic tonight is how to sell honey. And you can sell honey under the federal law, under your state law, or you can sell it illegally. Now, the federal law requires that you have a sticker that says that honey is not good for infants. You also have to have another sticker that says this is the nutritional value of this honey. And then the third thing is you have to have your label where you say what you're selling, which is honey, where you sell it by weight, so it has to be in pounds or ounces. And then you also have to have some way for the consumer to contact you if there's a problem. And the other thing is, if you do enough business at the federal level, it gets really complicated because you've got to keep records on who you've sold to, where you've bought, how you've treated it, and you need to have various manuals and whatnot that I don't want to get into tonight because I will never get that big. Okay, I live in Arizona. I sell under the state laws of Arizona, and I only sell within Arizona. In order to sell in Arizona, you qualify under the cottage food exemption. In order to qualify for the cottage food exemption, you have to get an Arizona food handler's card. This card is easy to get. It costs about $10. You take an online class for an hour to an hour and a half. You pass a test, and then they immediately print your Arizona food handler's card, and you have a confirmation number or a food handler's number. You take that number and you go to the state of Arizona and you say, I want to register under cottage food and I want to sell honey. And they will then give you your official cottage food registration with your cottage food registration number. Okay, so you've got your cottage food registration. Then they have requirements on your label. They have requirements that you date when you bottle the honey and you weigh the honey, and then that there's contact information. This is my label. Okay, you'll notice it has a registration number. That's the one from the last cycle I just had to renew in September. And it has this wonderful language that says the product was produced in a home kitchen and that is processed could be processed with common food allergens and is not subject to public health inspection. And then you have to give them your contact information, which I use just a website. Now, there's one other requirement under Arizona that's kind of interesting, and that is I can add absolutely nothing to the honey. It has to be pure honey. So one of the things that people are interested in today is hot honey. Hot honey is easy to produce. You take your honey, you add a little bit of vinegar, you add some chilies, and you either strain the chili seeds out or leave them in, and you sell this as hot honey. It's interesting because it hits the tip of your tongue and it tastes like honey. Then you taste the vinegar, and then at the back of your throat, you taste the heat from the honey. So in Arizona, I can give you a sheet of paper that tells you what you have to do to create your own hot honey, but I can't sell you hot honey. Okay, well, how do you sell honey without competition? I try to do two things different than my competition. I do not sell what my competition sells, and I do not sell where everybody else sells. You see, honey is an easy sale. The overwhelming majority of people love real honey when they taste it. They're so used to that stuff in the grocery store that's been filtered and heated and mixed with God knows what, that when they get real honey, they just are amazed and most of them become customers. The problem is connecting with your customers. How do you reach that customer? Well, commercial beekeepers have that problem and they solve it by selling their honey for $3 a pound, typically, or less. I'm lucky. I charge $16 a pound for my local honey, and I charge higher than that for my rare honeys, which we'll talk about later. Now, I'm envious of my friend Phil. My friend Phil lives in Quartzsite, Arizona. I don't know that you've ever heard of the place. It's 20 miles in from the border with California. There are 7,000 people living in Quartzsite in July, and there's 250,000 people for the last 2 weeks of January because they do a big rock sale. Now, there are no flowers, unnative flowers. There's no agriculture. And so my friend Phil sells organic, raw desert honey. And he charges $40 a pound for it. I'm envious of him, and I'm someday going to figure out how he does it. Well, I don't sell where everybody else sells. We have farmers markets here, and farmers markets can be a great place to sell honey, but I don't do farmers markets because they around here they charge a fee, they charge a percentage of your sales, and they require that you be there every week. And my problem is that if it's bad weather, I'm 75 years old and I'm not going to go out and spend all day standing out in the cold, drizzly rain. You know, we people in Arizona get 360 days of sunshine, and we think a cold winter day is anything under 75 degrees. So, you know, if it's below 65 degrees, I don't go out unless I have to. I don't work my bees below 65 degrees. In fact, if it's a rainy day, I can go by and my bees are all in the hive. You know, they're desert bees. If it isn't 80 degrees, they really don't want to go outside. Okay. The other thing is, I thought, oh, I'll sell on Facebook. And I went to Facebook, and here's all these people selling raw local honey on Facebook. And the only way they're competing is by cutting the price lower than the next guy. And the problem with Facebook is your customer cannot taste your honey. So I will never sell my honey on price. A final option is you can set up on the side of the road. There are busy intersections, and if you set up there and you set up regularly, people will stop and buy your honey. But usually they have to drive by your honey 4 to 10 times before they'll ever stop. And I just don't have the time to spend out there looking uh, for sales on the side of the road. Well, how do I sell my honey? Well, I sell my honey through family members. My wife does Tai Chi 5 days a week, and she sells honey to all the people at the Tai Chi club. Uh, she does a pretty good job. I have 11 grandchildren, and if any of my grandchildren say they need money, guess what? I say, sell some honey for me. The other thing I do is I sell 200 nukes a year, and half of those are to new beekeepers. So every time I meet a new beekeeper, I ask them one simple question. Why do you have bees? Some of them want bees because they want to help the bees. Some of them want bees because they just want a couple hives for family use. But many of them say, because I want to sell honey. Well, I tell those people, well, if you want to sell honey, you need to build your clientele, and I'll help you do that because I'll sell you my honey at a reduced price. You can sell my honey with my label and not have to worry about supplying the honey or any of those problems. I sell a 20-ounce jar for $20, a 10-ounce jar for $10, and I sell a 9-ounce rare honey jar for $15. I charge them $10 for the $15 charge, $7 for the $10 charge, and $14 for the 20-ounce jar. I also have interns. Interns are people who work with me long term who eventually want to become partners with me. So that's one avenue for me. The final avenue is I love doing special events. On November 14th, there was a church that's a couple miles from my house in a very poor area, and they did a festival. I paid them $30 to rent a table for from 9 until 1 a.m. I sold $326 worth of honey and also invited some people to find friends to do a honey party. Honey parties are the latest that I'm doing to promote honey sales. What I do is I find a host or a hostess who's willing to invite 5 to 10 of their friends. And I will meet with them, answer any questions they have about bees, any questions they have about honey, and then I let them taste at least 5 honeys, usually 5 rare honeys, and then whatever honey, local honey I'm selling. And then I give them, guess what, the opportunity to buy honey. And they do. You know, if you let people taste it, they'll buy it. Now, at the special events, we don't allow tasting of our honey. What we do is we produce honey straws of the various flavors, and we invite them to buy a honey straw for $1. And then if they buy honey, we give them the dollar off against the purchase of their honey. I also have done different packaging. Well, let's talk about that at the next slide. Okay, I don't sell commodity honey. My honey is like wine. Every batch is unique. Every honey I've ever produced is not completely the same when it comes to the flowers, the weathers, and the way that honey was handled or the time of year that honey was created. And so instead of selling raw local honey, I sell honey with a story. I've got a yard that's about a mile and a half from my house that's a former horse farm. And they have citrus trees, pomegranate trees, peach trees, all of the desert trees, mesquite, palo verde. They have weeds growing. They have eucalyptus trees. And so this is my urban honey. If somebody wants a local urban honey because they're worried about allergies, that's the honey I can sell them. I also have a 186-acre state lease. I pay $50 a year to use this land. It's predominantly one type of flower and creosote bush, and it also is within a mile of an alfalfa field. So it's a mixture of creosote and alfalfa. It has a very unique flavor, and people seem to really like it. Then I also have 5 acres that I own out in the desert, so I can produce the desert honeys. This past year, I did a heat study on the effects of heat on various types of hives. We used Apame hives, foam hives, and wood hives, and I did that with Carl Hayden Bee Lab. To be close to both of us, we put the bees on gourds in Casa Grande. We had 30 hives, 10 of each type. They started as nukes. They ended up as three box hives. We put them on there in July. We took them off the end of October. We produced 360 pounds of gourd honey, 24 nukes, and I still have 28 of the 30 hives. Two of the wood hives died that are two boxes of bees. And so I've been selling gourd honey. The other thing we do is we package differently. Upon request, especially at Christmas time, we will package honey in smaller jars. We put a honey stick with it with a ribbon and a label on top so you can write who it's to and who it's from. And we sell that either directly to consumers or through churches, scout groups, schools, anybody that wants a fundraiser. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about in terms of the honeys that we sell, most of the honeys in the desert crystallize. And when the weather here changes, it gets below 65 or below, that honey all crystallizes. A lot of people like those crystallized honeys. Some people think that they don't. And so what we do is we take a drill and we cream part of the honey by whipping it. Creamed honey is the #1 seller in Europe, and people seem to love it because they can spread it more like a jam than like a honey. Okay, we're down to the end. How I sell honey without competition. I do not sell what or where everybody sells, and neither should you. Let me get rid of this screen. And it's time for questions. Let me get to the main screen here. Do we have, okay.
Hey, Duane, I lost you for a minute, but did you talk about your rare honeys already?
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Let me cover that right now, okay?
Okay.
One of the other things I decided to do was to import honeys from Mexico. It's a great story, okay? Small, sustainable Mexican beekeepers sell me their honey at a price that is above what they can get in the local market. For most of them, I'm paying around $300 for a 5-gallon bucket. In the case of coconut, the coconut provider produces 24 5-ounce jars of coconut honey a year, and I bought one of them for 500 bucks. Uh, I sell these honeys in a 9-ounce jar at a higher price. Currently, I'm stocking the coconut honey, which everybody wants to try, uh, lychee honey, which is Asian fruit. It grows in Mexico. The bees produce a honey that starts out by tasting like honey, and then it tastes like cherries, and it has a very smooth finish. My personal favorite is avocado honey. Avocado honey is tough to produce because mature bees don't like the taste of avocado nectar. So if your avocados are next to a field of citrus and everything's blooming at the same time, the bees will all be over there working the citrus and nobody will be working your avocado. So it needs to be isolated. Avocado honey is a very dark honey. It's like uh, buckwheat. It has 14 minerals and all of the other good that you want in honey. In my opinion, it's the healthiest honey you can eat. And the avocado honey has a molasses taste and it finishes smooth, whereas the buckwheat honey has a molasses taste, but it has a bitter close. One of the things I'm going to be letting people taste is I just been given a large jar of honey from Western Michigan, and I haven't figured out what the plants are yet, but this honey starts with a very sweet honey taste, then it turns minty, and then it turns bitter. I sell tamarind honey and orange blossom honey. The orange blossom I sell is a very dark orange blossom, so it's a much bolder flavor than the light orange blossom that is often available. And I think that's covers it.
How's that going for you?
Uh, I'm not selling it as fast as I would like, but I haven't really gotten my marketing going. Right now my interns are selling my local honey, and I haven't really gotten them into selling the unique honeys. And in order to sell the unique honey, I either have to be at an event or be doing a honey party, I think, because they have to taste it.
Yeah, you sent me some of the lychee honey, is
Yeah,
it?
lychee, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and as a gift, and which I thank you for. That stuff's fantastic.
it's incredible. Now,
Yeah,
the problem is if you eat it only all the time, you tire of it fairly quickly.
yeah, just as a idea for others on this call or on this Zoom call as well. I took some of that honey and I used it in smoking ribs, and it was outstanding as a glaze on my ribs. So some of those specialty honeys I think have a real place in markets where people are interested in, say, smoking meats or something like that. It was awesome for that.
Well,
So
the thing is, we as beekeepers need to not be in the commodity business. We're not selling a sweet, okay? We are selling a unique product that's never the same, like a
yeah,
fine wine. And we need to be in the wine selling business and not the sugar business.
yeah. So just to pivot a little bit, Duane, because this has been very interesting. So Eric France, are you on this call? Eric? Maybe he's not. Anybody from the American Honey Tasters Association on the call? Well, I just wanted to ask you, Duane, if you had any sort of advice for people that want to sample these, what they should be looking for, I
Well,
guess. What are the
okay.
flavors or the things that you would you would recommend that they look at?
Okay, that's an impossible question to answer because, as an example,
Yeah.
okay, I like the bold honeys, but there's other people that like the light honeys. I mean, one of the things I had a friend send me honey from Panama, and it is turning into alcohol. So I bring that along and I let people taste that honey so they know what honey tastes like when it begins to convert.
Huh.
So,
Well,
I recommend they taste every honey they can find, and then they'll find what you like. I mean, I'm not a big fan of orange blossom honey, citrus honey, but I know a lot of people that love only that, and I know other people who think citrus honey is the worst honey in the world. I happen to be very biased against clover honey. I mean, that stuff is horrible to me, but I know a lot of people who love clover
yeah,
honey.
yeah. Well, it's interesting. So you sell it without competition because you embed yourself in markets that are yet to be discovered, maybe, right? So use creative ways to get out there and sell it. Have you found, I should ask, that it's, and this may be an individual question, that it's easier for you to market honey and that you make more profit by going at these sort of non-conventional ways to sell it? Or, is there an argument to be made for sitting under a tent in a farmer's market in the middle of summer, right?
Well, yeah, you can do that, and and there are people. I mean, there's one organization that buys honey from beekeepers, and then she hires people to sit at the farmers markets, and she has tied up most of the major farmers markets. And that's a model that's profitable for her. I think the more important thing and the thing that I sell is people love buying from the beekeeper. They
Yeah,
want
that's
to talk to the person who
yeah.
actually lifted that frame out of that hive and processed it. We have a question on how do I deal with the wax on crystallized honey. We process our honey before it crystallizes. We process it in the summer so it doesn't crystallize until I've got it in my 5 gallon barrel. Because I store my honey, and I'm at such a low volume that I store my honey in 5 gallon buckets. So that's the answer to that question. Let me see if I can see if there was another question.
There is another one. It's what
Okay.
requirements do
What
Arizona?
requirements does Arizona law have regarding honey sampling? Well, I'm not aware of a specific law. Many of the farmers markets do not allow tasting, and that's why I like the honey straw. Okay, we can produce the honey straw in all of the flavors we offer. We can let you, for $1, taste that honey. Remember, we don't do free things. We're here to make money. So you pay $1 to taste that honey, and then we give you the dollar off if you buy a jar of honey. And I would say our conversion rate is probably about 70%. 70% of the people buy a jar of honey, even though
Mhm.
they'll taste coconut as an example. Everybody wants to taste coconut. And I'm not a coconut fan. To me, when I taste coconut, it just tastes like super sweet honey. Some people claim they get a coconut taste in there somehow. I've not ever personally experienced that, but everybody wants to taste coconut honey. They pay their dollar for the coconut straw. They, they find out that it tastes like I described it, and then they buy the local honey to take home.
Well, good. So somebody's asking where you get your straw making machine and get your straws.
Okay, there is a company, and I can't remember. There's two. There's one that advertises on Amazon, and then there's another guy who sells a 9 connections. You really don't need a straw filling machine. All you need is a syringe and a sealer, and they make a for 20 15 for $25 you can buy two sealers that just fit on the end of the, and you squeeze it and it heats it up and it melts the straw. Okay, so if you have when you when I first bought my oxalic acid kit. I bought goggles. I bought a syringe that could measure the 20 milliliters. It was a 60 milliliter syringe. And that kind of syringe works great. And you can buy those for dirt cheap. You use it to fill the honey. You leave a little at the end and then you seal it and then you seal the other end and you peel off the pieces that don't have honey in them. And
Yeah, most of
you can
four or
buy
five
straws.
inches.
Yeah, you can buy straws on Amazon. You don't want wrap straws because then you spend your whole day uh, your whole day peeling the straw, covers off. So you want straws that haven't been.
There's a question about, I don't know if you saw it, Duane, about flavored honey, apple flavor.
Yeah.
Uh,
See, in the state of Arizona, I cannot sell flavored honeys because that's a violation. That's an adulteration of the honey. Uh, there are people in my marketplace that are selling hot honey, that are selling, turmeric, cinnamon, you name it. One of the things I've looked into in Europe, they make what they call medicinal honeys, and what they do is they make a tea out of herbs and mix that with the sugar water, feed that to the bees, and then sell that honey as medicinal honey. And so you can pretty much, you can buy lavender honey that's created that way, and so forth and so on. I've not ever gotten into that.
Hmm.
yeah, so just taking that stream of thought, so creamed honey,
Yeah.
um, that's unadulterated, right? I mean, it's made with
Yeah, I can
seed,
produce cream honey because all I'm doing is breaking down the crystals.
right?
You take regular honey, add some crystallized honey to it, it will crystallize. And then I have a paint stirrer that I only use for honey on my 1970s corded electrical drill that's about to burn out. And I use a 5-gallon bucket and I put a little in at a time and I whip it and then I let it set and a white foam appears on the top and crystallized honey is everything below.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, so pivoting a little bit, Tim, what's been your experience up in Alaska? You're at the other end of the spectrum with Duane and in where you live, and probably also in how you market your honey, and how do you compete in that environment?
I'm glad you called me because I had a couple of comments and a question.
Yeah.
My first comment is that I 100% uh, endorse the idea of not selling where other people sell and not selling how they sell and having a shtick. Like for me, my shtick, because it's Alaska and unfortunately people still kill their bees, a lot of them in the fall. My shtick is that 100% of my honey has come from overwintered hives for the last 5 years. So
Wow.
nobody else in the state can say that.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people that buy honey from me that are doing it for that exact reason. Um, so that's it. Uh, so there's that. What I've done, since I'm small, I don't sell that much. I just have uh, probably at any given time less than 10 production hives. So I um, I just have a mailing list. And what I do is I just send out a mailing list and I say, I'm going to be here with my honey on Tuesday night from 6 till 9. Come by. And then I'll put out another time a couple of days later, and then I'll just keep offering those times till it's done. But I don't have to market it at all anymore. I just save the email addresses of everybody that ever bought honey. And and you know, I have people that buy $500-600 at a time of honey from me.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
I'm in Alaska, so I'm selling it at $30 a pound. It's more expensive up here. So here's my question for Duane. Duane said that he has people that intern with him, and their hope is that just someday to go in business with him. But he also said he's 75 years old, and I wondered how long he's going to make people wait before he gives them that chance.
Yeah.
Believe me, as soon as they're ready. Okay.
Okay.
My first intern wanted to get into queen breeding. Okay. So I buy queens 100 at a time and we bank them. And I sell him queens at my cost so that he can take care of the onesie sale for everybody in the state of Arizona. Okay. I have no
Ah,
interest in that business. Uh, it's getting harder for me to lift the boxes. My eyesight's not as good as it was when I was, 20 years old. And if I can find somebody that's ready to take over my nuke selling business, that's the next one going. That's why I'm getting into honey. Okay. It's because I
okay.
see honey as something that I can do into my 90s.
That's great.
Okay. And my last comment is I did find a honey source in Alaska for you if you want to get some that would sell it to you for $16 a pound.
Okay. What quantity?
Probably a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay. Yeah, but I'd have to pay shipping on top of that.
Well, that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem with Alaska.
60 pounds is expensive.
Yeah. What, 300
But
bucks?
I, I don't know, but it's pretty
Okay. Yeah.
exotic.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I was telling my wife is, we have 11 grandchildren and she spent three sons and three daughter-in-laws and she spends like $150 on each person. And she buys a lot of stuff from Amazon. And one of my sons lives in Idaho. And so she has stuff shipped here and then turns around and reships it to Idaho. And we were talking tonight, and I said, "You're crazy. Just direct ship to Idaho because you're getting clobbered on the shipping."
You just need to find somebody who's taking a vacation up here next August. That'll
There you
drive it
go.
down for you.
Either that or if somebody will pay my way so I can come speak to their group up there, then I can carry it back.
I'm looking for
You still got to
people.
get it.
I'm looking for people for my next seminar, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So there's a question online there, Duane. I don't know if you see it. Does sane phone honey crystallize easily?
I have no idea. It's not a honey that I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
Uh, you know,
depends
it,
on
it,
the sugar
yeah,
content.
well, it depends on the ratio between the two sugars.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good point.
as an example, Tupelo honey, which is, world famous from Florida, never crystallizes. I've got some green honey that I produced going on 4 years ago. Okay. Interesting story. I'm along the Gila River and I start seeing green honey and I think, oh, some kid dropped a Slurpee or the bees, got into M&Ms or something. So I start throwing it away. But I have another yard that's 20 miles down the river and it starts producing green honey. And so I have about half a pint left of green honey that's 4 years old that is never crystallized. It's thickened a little bit, but it's never crystallized.
Wow. Something else I do up here in where I'm in Southwest Montana, so my climate's a lot like yours, Tim, where I'm at. The one thing I do is that I have for the people in my area, and I live in the mountains, so I'm 5 miles back on a dirt road, and we have a pretty robust community out here. But I will, when I harvested honey, I take a 5-gallon bucket with a spigot on it and set it out by the greenhouse when I'm harvesting fruit in the greenhouse and tell them, bring your own jar, a pint or a quart. It costs this much to fill up either one of them. And they come up to the house and fill it up, pay me and leave. So it's a low end, low budget sort of way of getting out of the markets, the farmers markets and selling along the street corners and try to go to market stores because I I sell out of my honey within a month of it um, being harvested. So I I have no trouble once people know I got honey, they'll come and get it no matter what they got to do to get it. So, all right. Anybody else have any questions for Duane?
The honey they were asking about, I just looked it up on Google,
Yeah.
and it looks like it does crystallize. I don't know how quickly.
Oh.
Are you aware of any other packers that will deal by in small quantities, 1,000 pounds? What kind of price should you expect? Guess I can't see selling a crop a pound at a time in the farmer's market. Okay, there are three major buyers of honey in my marketplace. There are a number of places that serve mead, and they're always buying honey. This lady I talk about buys honey. There's also two major honey producers. One is Crockett Honey that's been here forever, and the other one is, the name escapes me. The problem is you're going to be lucky to get $2.50 a pound, and they'll probably
Right.
start at $2 a pound. And so I just, I mean, I understand that if you're producing thousands of pounds of honey, it's a problem, but I've decided to move into buying small amounts of a honey and selling that versus creating a bunch of honey myself. A, because I don't want to do the work, and B, because once you start producing thousands of pounds of honey, selling it becomes a real problem.
Yeah, great. All right, Duane. Well, thank you. This was really fun. Thank you
Well,
for
I
taking the time to do it.
thank you all for having me. And if you come to Arizona, look me up. I'll put you to
Great.
work.
So our next WAS meeting will be in January, and it'll be the fourth Thursday at 7 p.m. In January. It'll be David Peck, Dr. David Peck from Better Bee, and he's going to talk to us about some new oxalic acid delivery systems that they have. And then the one in February will be in the same time of the month, the fourth Thursday at 7 will be Jerry Wright, talking about some nutritional studies that are being done in Oxford, at the University of Oxford from England. And she happens to be the department chair. She's from Wyoming, but happens to be the department chair of entomology at Oxford University. So we're excited for her, and keep track of our website, Join WAS. Continue to help us get these great mini conferences out there. We hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.